Welcome back to the vlog. We're going to be over at Capital Casino playing in the 1-3 game. This is part of our series of the 5K a month challenge from August to December. And to put it frankly, so far, so bad. Definitely picked the wrong time to start a challenge. I've been in a little bit of a downturn, and hopefully we can turn it around this session. Please excuse the camera angle. I wasn't able to get one of my preferred seats at the end of the table until very late in the session. We start off by losing a few small pots, and we're down about $100 about half hour into our session. The low jack opens for $12. It's folded around to me, and I go ahead and raise to $40. He puts in the call. With $81 in the pot, we get a great flop of ace-5-5. It looks like our luck is turned around so far. I check it over to him. I don't think there's any point in betting this. Let him take a stab if he has something. He bets for $20. Could be anything here. Of course, I got this basically locked up, so I'm just going to put in the call and see what happens on the turn. Turn card's 8 of hearts. Of course, it doesn't really do anything for my hand. Probably nothing for his. I check it over to him again. If he has a pocket pair, he might take one more stab, trying to get me to fold, say, a larger pocket pair. He bets $50 this time. Seems like a pretty good price to me. Of course, there's no point in putting in a raise at this point. He most likely doesn't have much, so I smooth call, and we get to see a river card of a deuce of clubs. I expect him to slow down unless he has the case ace. I check it over to him. I'm hoping that he bets. Does he have that ace? Let's find out. He puts out $100 on the river. It's music to my ears. It's time to go ahead and put the rest of my chips in. There's only one move here, so I toss in the chip and announce that I am all in. It doesn't take him very long before he snap calls. I show my hand, and he, of course, folds, but I'm definitely sure he had the other ace. We're off to a pretty good start. We got up $280, 45 minutes in. There's one player that limps in from the +1. I got ace queen offsuit in the hijack. I make it $20. Everyone else folds, and they put in the call. So we go heads up, just the two of us, and the flop comes out. Ace deuce deuce with 2 clubs. A pretty good flop for my hand. He checks it over. Here, I could check it back once in a while. I can bet it once in a while. I decide to bet for $15. My opponent decides to raise to $35. Small check raise. I don't know whether he's doing this because I bet really small and he's just making some crazy play, but I'm not going anywhere yet. I got top pair and a backdoor flush draw. Well, the turn card is a queen of diamonds. They give me top 2 pair. That's a pretty good turn card. If for some reason I was outkicked, which I doubt, I now have that beat. He thinks for probably about 10-15 seconds before deciding to bet $80. Now, I'm going, well, what kind of hands does he have? I do have the ace of hearts, so ace deuce of hearts is out. There's an ace deuce of spades, and then there's pocket deuces. I don't think he has pocket aces. Well, if I catch an ace, I'm going to get all my chips in against an ace deuce. If I catch a queen, I can beat an ace deuce. If he has pocket deuces and I catch an ace, I get a jackpot. I really don't think he's playing a flush draw this way. And then when the jack of clubs comes, I'm going, that's not a good card. Maybe he's going to slow down. Maybe he's going to bet like for value with a flush. But he doesn't. He decides that he's going to put in a pretty big bet of $300. Well, if he was semi-bluffing with a flush draw, he got there, but would he really bet that big with a flush? I really don't think he has a flush. I mean, this is a very strange line. He either has basically quads or nothing. Well, I think this is a fold, but I can't get it on my mind that it's really hard to make quads in this game. So I put in the call, and he shows me quads. So another vlog, another punt. I'm in the hijack, and it's folded to me. I decided to open with 9-7 suited, $15. Get a couple quick calls from the players behind me, and one of the blinds. So we're going 4 ways to a flop with 63 in, and we flop a straight with a straight flush draw. First player checks, I check. I saw the player behind me looking like they wanted to bet, and they do for $15. The other 2 players fold out. I decided to build it up just a little bit. I don't want to make them fold out because, there's a high hand for a straight flush, which I have a chance of getting. And he has a pretty small stack, so I figure I can get the money in by the river anyway. Turn card comes as a deuce of hearts. Nothing's changed really. If he had a jack and a flush draw, well, he picked up a flush draw, but I'm not too concerned. I bet 50. He puts in the 50, and we're going off to the river. We catch a black 10, but it's the wrong one. He only has like $60, $70 left, so I go all in. He folds it and mumbles about his bad luck. 2 hands later, I open with pocket aces and $15. I get basically the same callers. The 2 players behind me have been calling just about every one of my raises. And they're calling them very, very wide from the hands that I have seen. We're going 4 ways to a flop that comes Queen, Jack, 7 with 2 spades. Pretty good flop for mine. I was about to bet it, but the player behind me grabbed a bunch of chips, so I checked it over and let him fire off his last $58. The next player doesn't take too long before putting in the call. Seems to me like he has some sort of drawing hand, and that's a very wet board. The other player folds out, and it comes back around to me, and I'm going to have to put in a raise, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to play this hand. I know he's been calling pretty light, and this is a very draw-heavy board, so I don't want to raise like originally I was thinking about raising $125 or $150. But I think that just would invite him to come in. He has about $500 left behind. I decided to go for a $200 raise, basically a pot size raise after my call. And if he has something worth drawing at, I think he would probably come along. And if not, I'm fine getting it heads up with the all-in player for a $236 pot. Well, after some thought, he decides that he's going to finally let his hand go. If I had any idea whatsoever that the turn card was going to be as good as it was for me, I probably wouldn't have raised so much. The all-in opponent happened to have ace-king offsuit, by the way. We then had several small pots here. I defended with jack 10 suited from the big blind, flop 2 pair, and won a small pot. This one I had ace king, and there was a $11 straddle. I raised a 35. I get the caller from the player behind me, and bet the flop, and he folds. I get ace queen suited, 6-way pre-flop. I missed the flop and had a fold. Been picking up some pretty good cards here. I have ace queen offsuit, open for a raise from the +1. Get a ton of callers, of course. We go 5 ways to this flop. And the flop comes out king 10 7 all hearts. I do have the ace of hearts, but I decided to check it with 4 other players behind. Turn card comes as a 4 hearts. I make the nuts. Very nice. Someone leads into me for $6. I think there's just a feeler bet. I'm just going to make the call, see if we can get an overcall. Maybe someone will make a play at the pot. I end up getting 2 overcalls after I made the call. So there's 100 in the pot. When the river card comes, the 9 of diamonds. Now the first player who led for $6 checks. I'm just going to put out a small bet here, trying to get paid off from someone with a queen or jack of hearts. Player on the button makes a crying call after thinking for a while. And we ended up turning over our hand, and they end up showing that they had the 9 of hearts on the river. So we got a little extra value there. There's a limp, a raise, and then it gets to the player who had pocket deuces against me earlier, and he puts in a raise to 45. I got ace king suited in the big blind. A lot of time I'll just go ahead and re-raise with this hand because I have so much equity, but I'm putting him on a very tight range, either a hand like mine or big pocket pair. So I decided to call and see a flop, and we go heads up. Flop comes 10-5-5 with 1 spade, so I got backdoor flush draw and 2 overs. He bet $60. I guess he would do this with his ace kings. Basically, his whole range. Since I have ace king, if he has a pocket pair, it's most likely queens, and I got 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw for that. Turn card comes as a bad card. It's a 5 of clubs. I check it over to him. If he fires, he probably has a big pocket pair, and I'll just dump it. If he checks, maybe I can catch another 5 and beat him with ace high. Or if I catch an ace or a king, I'll be in there. He decides to check it back after some thought, and the river card comes as a queen of diamonds. Of course, this is a horrible card. If he happened to have ace queen, which I doubt, he just rivered me. I check it over to him. He thinks for a little bit before he decides to bet $150. I'm done with the hand. I was trying to figure out whether whether I was up against pocket queens or ace queen. In my mind, I think he had pocket queens all along. Well, it turns out that he's really holding over me because he happened to have pocket kings that he flashed to me after the hand. It's folded to me in the hijack. I got ace 10 offsuit, put in a raise to $15. Of course, the 2 players behind me decide to put in the call, and so does the big blind. So we're going to go 4 ways to this flop with $61 in. Flop is a good one if you had a king. It comes king 4-3 with 2 clubs. I do not have a club. I do not have a king. But this is good for my range. If someone doesn't have a flush draw or a king, they're probably going to end up folding. I do get one of the players putting in the call behind me, and it's just going to be the 2 of us when we see a 9 of spades. 9 of spades is a complete blank. I think he's more likely to be on a flush draw or have a weak king. I put in a bet of $40 just to try to get a further read on him, and he puts in another call. So my decision was if a blank came on the river that I was just going to go for it. I figure I can get him to fold all his kings that are not strong, which is very obvious by the way he's been playing so far today. And the flush draw miss. So I make a big bet of $160. My goal is to get him to fold, say, a hand like king 8, king 7, king 6. I don't think he has king 9. I think he would have raised with that. And I don't think he flopped 2 pair because I think he would have raised with that also. All the flush draws miss. Of course, the straight draw does get there, so that was my only concern, but he ends up folding. Here I open from middle position with king, queen offsuit. I get a call from the player behind me in the hijack. As I said, he's been calling just about every time I open for a raise. We go 3 ways to this flop with 46 in. Flop comes out jack 10-6 rainbow. Pretty good flop for my hand. Sometimes I lead with this, sometimes I check it. This time I decided to check it. My opponent behind me bets for $30. The other player folds out and it's back to me. I got an open ender, 2 overcards. I'm pretty sure if I hit anything like that, I'm good. So I put in the call for the 30. Turn card comes, looks like a complete blank of a 3 of clubs. It does introduce some backdoor flush draws, but really shouldn't coordinate with that board at all. I check it over to him again. He decides on betting out again, this time for the figure of $65. It seems like he's really trying to protect his pair. I'm thinking that he has some sort of jack. It's really hard to determine what kind of jack he might have. Only thing I can tell you is that he's been playing a lot of hands against me, and some of them have been pretty outrageous. I still think I'm good with any 9, ace, king, or queen. And he does have about $230 left behind. So if I smash it, I'm going to, shove on him. So I put in the call and we get the queen of diamonds on the river, giving us a top pair, which is pretty good. If he has, as long as he doesn't make two pair with that, I mean, it's possible he has queen jack. So I decided to do like a merge bet. It's kind of a blocker bet and a value bet. I make it $100, trying to get call from a weak jack, and he ends up showing me jack 3 for two pair. I guess that 3 wasn't a blank after all. Finally, after 3.5 hours, an end seat became open, and I went over and had a seat change. I hear that someone opens for 10. Two people call for the 10, and with the ace king on the button, I'm going to put in the raise to 55. The blinds and the opener fold, so is the first caller, and when it gets around to the last caller, he just goes all in for $105. Of course, this is a very easy call with my hand. He shows that he has king, queen of clubs on a flop that comes 10 high. I show my hand. He doesn't have too many outs, but the jack of clubs gives him quite a few. And the river's a 9 of hearts. Yeah. And now for our final hand of the day. There are a bunch of limpers. I limp with 5-3 suited. You can fold this. This doesn't have to be played, but they're playing a little bit goofy, and I figure if I hit a hand, I can get paid off on it. So here I am with 5-3. Flop comes out, ace 10-4 with 2 clubs. Blind checks. Under the gun player leads for $15 now. Next player calls. I'm going to go ahead and make a call, hoping to spike some sort of offsuit deuce. So big blind also puts in the call. Turn card comes is a deuce of diamonds. What a perfect card. Big blind checks. Under the gun player checks now. Next player leads for 45. This is a ace all day long, of course. I am not going to be slow playing this. I think the player in the under the gun position has a flush draw, and I want to charge him for it. So I raise to 115. Making them call a larger size bet if they want to draw to their flush. And now they tank and tank and tank. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit. Finally, they grab a stack of chips, and then they put it down, and then they go back to their stack and slide out $300. All right, what could this be? Well, maybe he flopped a set. Maybe he has ace 10 of diamonds instead of flush draw. I don't know. The other player folds out. Only got no for sure. Right now I got the nuts, and I'm probably up against someone I have a better hand than, so I'm going to stick it all in there. He doesn't think long before sticking in his chips. He asks if he wants to run it twice. I tell him I always run it once. River card comes as 8 of hearts, complete blank. I show my 5-3 very proudly, and he shows 5-3 of clubs. So he was free rolling me. I guess I'm not running as bad as I thought, because on a different day, I would have got stacked. Well, after 4.5 hours of play, I decided to call it quits that day. Ended up winning $100, which is not much in the grand scheme of things, especially when you have a 5K a month challenge. You're not going to get there by winning $100 a day. For the week, I ended up having another losing week, this time $130. So we are progressing. We're going from big losses to medium-sized losses to small losses. Eventually, I think we're going to get to where we're going to have pluses again. Hopefully, September will be much better than this, because for the month, I ended up winning, get this, $85. So we're only short $4,915 from our goal. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that September is going to be much, much better than August. I know it's a risky side bet here, but I think I like my chances of doing better than a $85 plus for the month. Whether I get to the 5,000, well, we just have to wait and see. I do appreciate all your support, and I hope you enjoyed the vlog. And if you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps the channel grow. And until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.